Such terrible shaving rash.
Do you have to shave
all of it?
All over?
All of it.
Is it an electric thing you just...
No. Wet.
Really?
Yeah.
Head as well?
Head as well. So sometimes I've got this regular nick here that I have to watch.
Oh.
So I can bleed. You know it's really bleed, don't it? Because it's so thin skin. So you know when you've done it though, because you get this burn and you go, oh, let's cut. We got roped into doing this tent, right? For about, there must have been 30 seats, and there were raked seats in this little tent. And I decided that I was going to run my taping set, which I don't usually do, but I thought I'd run it because I was taping the next night. Taping, that's what they call it here. And so I'd done this thing. I don't know what I'd done, but I cracked the mic into my head and thought no more of it. But suddenly the audience were just... looking at me, like I was this crazy, mad bloke from wherever I was. But I was thinking, I've done Canada, I've toured Canada, I know this comedy works here. But it was at a point where I was thinking, I don't understand why this isn't working. But I thought, well, sometimes, I split a room, pretty much most of the time I'll split a room. And if there are 60 people in the room, hopefully 30 find it funny and 30 don't. Maybe this is the 30 that don't find it funny. I've got the 400% of the haters here. And I did this thing. I did the shoes. I got my back and brought the shoes up and made the shoes talk. Didn't think anymore, and it just was dying anyway. And always when any comic will tell you, when things start going wrong, it all starts going wrong. So I'm on my back, and I left change in my pocket in my jeans. So that then all the change started, but not all at once. It was blank, dang, dang. So this is not going good. So there's like a back curtain to this, and I tried to get through the curtain. I thought, oh no, it's all roped up. So I managed to I just ripped the stage. It's terribly bad, really, but I ripped their thing off, and just got behind it. And then this guy comes along, Alonzo, some big American comedian star, comes on, and he says, I hear him go, wow. He goes, got a lot of that guy. He said, gee, he said, bleeding for your art. That's something else. And I'm thinking, bleeding for my art? And then I've looked in the mirror, and I have just got the longest big drips of blood coming right down like this, where I'd obviously at the beginning done that and split my head. So they must have been thinking, oh my God, he's mad. So I'm doing all my talk to myself and all this shit. What's he doing? I don't know. And they're all and bleeding. And then I'm on my back with my feet in the air, and all this change is falling out. And then this bloke's just in front of us with his baldy head bleeding, and then escaped. They must have just think. I can understand why they were just going, what's going on?
Well, I suppose it could have gone both ways. It could have enhanced it, maybe.
Well, it could have been a complete. If they were a full alternative crowd, they could have been thinking, wow, this is out there, man. He's deliberately cut his head open. This is fantastic. But they didn't. They were obviously
concerned more than anything.
Concerned and conservative. Very. So and being Canadians and also Montreal, they were obviously they were very concerned, And if I could do the French, I would do the French. But they were obviously saying, "Oh my God, he's bleeding." It won't all count. So,
are they more an alternative crowd here, though?
What, in Britain?
Well, here in Bristol, maybe.
Do you know, it's a funny thing I always say about this. I think a lot of people around the world, Americans will work on a different rhythm, because I really believe in rhythms, right? Yeah. And I'm not being a hippie about this, but it's like a rhythm, it's like music works, and certain countries get certain things, like, Scandi countries will be very much into heavy rock, and then someone else might not really be into heavy rock, and I believe there's kind of a rhythm between nations and societies, right? This is going really quite deep under it, but within that, so the American beat of the drum would be much different to a Kiwi beat of the drum, if that makes sense. But there's still people. They still know exactly what you and I know. So there's still comedy there, but it's the rhythm of the deliveries, and it's a slight change in getting into their world. But then, having said that, within that, there is also different parts of the countries as well where it works slightly different too. So an Auckland audience is very much different to a Wellington audience in New Zealand. It's a completely different audience, but still the same, they're still on the same tip, right? So when you say is a Bristol audience, better or worse, it's a funny one. I find, personally for me, for some reason, the northwest of Britain is for me. In fact, that kind of Leicester kind of corridor right up to the northwest is, for some reason, unbelievable. I mean, to the point where it's just, I just think, how good can this get? Having said that about Bristol, and this is another thing, I've played here at the Hen and Chickens. This will be my third time doing a tour show in here, and I think, in complete contrast and flip to this is a very comedy savvy crowd.
Yeah.
So it's not just a beard up crowd going to a comedy. You know what I mean? This is quite a comedy savvy crowd. So that kind of also contradicts and also doesn't contradict what I'm trying to say. But it will be played slightly different to as I will play it in Manchester. Yeah. But still realising there will be a confidence that this is quite a savvy crowd. It's very complex, isn't it? You don't believe how complex it is, really. It's comedy. I don't think people realise actually how comedy is so easily broken. I'm a real stickler for sound and light, because I'm prepared to die, right? You know that. I go out and if I die, I die, and that's it. I'm doing what I do. But if the sound and the light are against me, then I'm a bit nervous. If the sound and light are good, then I think, well, if I die, that's they didn't buy. And it's happened a few times. I don't even know what I was saying now.
But you were saying about how in different places they either get you or they don't, or they get you more. Yeah. Does that shape how you're doing stuff, or are you just doing your thing and they take it or leave it? I think you're right. I'm flipping going mad. I've just realised I'm actually really quite insane. But nicely. Yes, I think it really matters about that you have to not care, but you've got to be professional enough to care, because you always want to do your best. I will always want to do my best because that's what I am about. But equally, my thing will be that I will do what I want to do. And that sounds arrogant, but I spent a lot of time being very professional in comedy clubs and appeasing an audience and being funny to that audience because that club owner needed to be, happy with what you did, so they book you again. And I think what happens is that becomes a detriment to yourself to do that, because you're appeasing. And that's what I say to a lot of people who are new in comedy or come into comedy. If they've still got their job, their day job, I say keep your day job. Don't be dependent on this, because once you become dependent, that's when you're going to, dare I say, become hack and be, safe, and you're not going to do anything artistic. I think if you've got money coming from here, you're not worried if they don't like you here. And I think it's a very important thing. I think, you must set your stall out and do what you believe. Is that what you did wrong then, first time around? I did wrong, yeah. I mean, it's a good point. I think now if I looked at it, I'd say it was what I did wrong. But I mean, I had to be him to get to this one. You know? So I had to be V1 to be V2. It shaped it. It shaped it. I learned a lot of the old me. The old me, it's really funny because the old me was not fashionable. I was doing stuff, but doing great gigs and going well, but doing what McIntyre was doing. Or, anyone like that. It was very mainstream kind of comedy. No disrespect to Michael, but it was just, have you ever noticed this? And yes. Isn't it funny when you do that, And that's what I was doing. And then people were going, oh, it's a bit end of the pier, it's a bit, but... And then Mr. Saturday Night and did all that kind of shenanigans. And then that was all taken away. And then I had this kind of really deep, dark place that I went to. And my wife said, you've got to go back out doing stand-up. And of course I said to her, when everyone began to look at his back, and she'd be, is everyone talking about you? Is that what you believe? And I said, oh, God, how much have I got on my backside? So the reshaping of what I do now was kind of a right to reply. There was like Chortle lambasted me in 2004, 2005, calling me, hack eye and saying that they were pleased to hate me and all this. And I was like going, what have I done wrong? Yeah. So this kind of comeback in sort of like 2006 was kind of me going, right, okay, I'm going to do what I wanted to do in the first place. Yeah. So it was kind of a right to reply, but I thought, right, I'm going to do what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do this nicey nice comedy. I want to do what I want to do. So now I'm doing this, should we say, what you would call more of an alternative kind of comedy. And now that's not fashionable, they want. Have you ever noticed? But that's what they want, and whoever they are, they are. But it's coffee with you, but it's beer coffee.
But does that matter too much? Does it bother you a little bit that you're not?
I think there's a bit of me that would like to play to more people, but there's also a bit of me that quite enjoys the fact that I've got this kind of little, not cult. What's the word? This. It's not cult, is it? Kind of this little niche of people that get it, that do get it and want to explore and see me explore more. Although I still get people coming who have seen me maybe like doing, Tina Turner on Let's Dance, and there's a woman the other week, she was sitting in the front row, and I said something like that, and she went, "Yeah, that's where we saw you," and I thought, yeah, I don't think you're going to like this. But I should never have generalised about this lady, but I could just tell. I just could tell from the get-go. I thought, this is not. You're going to be thinking this is going to be razzle dazzle, and it's and it's not.
But then I suppose it might get through to people that didn't know about the alternative side. They didn't know that people like you were out there. I think there are a lot of people who think McIntyre is stand-up. And
yeah, I think that's what it is, and you're absolutely right. I think a lot of people, this goes back a long way. I mean, this goes back a long, long way, but still now it's only becoming, it's only still really new from probably 8-9 years from away from the Chubby Browns and the Jim Davidsons. It's probably still only that new, and it's that generation that are bringing that through. But there is still a normality out there, a mainstream mind that will still think, well, that's what it is, jokes, isn't it? They still think, well, that's what it is, jokes. And I think that's where Michael was completely, taken this to another level, like an unbelievable level. But it's no different, or if not even as good as, dare I say it, as good as what Alan Davis was doing at that time when he was doing observational comedy, and was amazing. And like for me, a personal favourite of mine is Sean Locke, someone who does an observation, but then he'll draw his Sean Locke similes, and that's what I love. I like someone who, if you're going to do observational comedy, let me see you draw these, these similes from your mind, and let me see where you want to take me on your journey in your world. I think that's what's important to me.
Yeah,
personally.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think it's a very mainstream audience, isn't it?
Hugely, but I mean, it's phenomenal what he's doing. I think he's doing some. I think he's already sold 12,000 tickets in South Africa. It's phenomenal, and people are snobby about Michael, and that's fine, because everyone's got their opinion. But if it's about popularity and being wealthy from comedy, then he's that nail's been well smashed, isn't it? Boom. But for me personally, I would far rather see someone, dying trying to do something different. Watching like the early Paul Foots and stuff. Someone doing something a bit out there and different than seeing someone storm it. We're doing stuff about Lidl, or go to the Subway, or it's like when you go to McDonald's. I'd rather see someone.
It's important that it's different. It's
for me. It's for me personally. I remember watching Julian Barrett. He was doing an open spot at John Blows in Battersea many years ago, and I remember watching the comics, watching him die. Sort of not really being horrible, because most comics are lovely, right? We have a little bit of, but most people are really good actually. But I could feel the comics going, he's going down, and I was sitting there going, this is what I want to do, and this is amazing. He was going down really bad. I mean, really bad, but he was doing all the stuff about the wind cheater. He goes, you think the wind is like a superhero, the wind cheater's a superhero, and then you've got the baddie going, I can't do it. I can't get through the weave. You can't get through the weave. And I'll just go, this is brilliant, I can't get through the weave. And then becoming even funnier, watching an audience just go, not getting it as well. That's also very funny.
What you were saying about having the room split, like some people like you and some people don't, is that kind of a thing where you don't want everyone to like you because it's a bit weird if everybody gets it?
I think if you're completely honest, you want everybody to love you, right? Of course you do. Because you do. You're a human being. And, I don't want anyone not to like me. But I don't care if people don't like what I do and will not enjoy what I do. That side of it doesn't bother me, because as my friend Johnny always says, they don't know you, they don't know me. So when it was a great moment when I got over myself, I completely got over myself, as I call it, because there's that thing where I don't want to read stuff on the internet about myself. When you can laugh at it and go, that's hilarious, or actually we've got a point there. That's an important stage in your life, because they don't know you. They don't know who you are. They know what you perceive to be. And my stand-up isn't me. It's You know, I am a little bit crazy, but that isn't who I am. That's not me at home with my son.
Is it your outlet, though, for your craziness?
Yeah, of course it's my incredible Hulk, if you like.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
if you didn't have that, would that be in you somehow?
Yeah, of course, that was what was happening. But at that time when I started doing stand-up, and that point there, you know, it becomes a distraction.
Right.
I mean, if you have a creative mind, whether how good your mind is creatively, I think any creative person will say, you know, if you leave it dormant, it'll kill you.
But does that have to be through stand-up, or could you?
No, I think it can be anything, can't it? It can be with paint, it can be with writing, it can be even if you're helping someone who's not as well in this world, you know, with someone with disability or working with kids or something. I think if you channel something that can be creative to other human beings, I think it's an important thing. I think that's, for me personally, I only know from my mind.
But you personally, you don't always have to be doing stand-up. You could maybe channel it some other way.
I could channel it some other way, yeah. But I think stand-up is, for me, is the freest way to express myself, because my discipline is only entirely for me. You know, I haven't got to be disciplined for any other person, any other player in the piece. You know, the piece that the players are me, they're all me, all the characters are all me. You know, and I live by it and die by it. You know, I write it, produce it, direct it. So it's my call, isn't it? And that's the beauty of...
Is there a danger in being too free, or do you think maybe limiting it might be...
It's a very good question. You see, because, you know, it's pulling the rope down, that one going that way and that one going that way. If it is dangerous because it's so free, there are people getting off on that. But there are other people that are uncomfortable or not even understanding it. So, you know, to play it safer, it's always easy to play it safer. But I also like to set it safe as well. So think, oh right, okay, and then have people go, oh my god, what's happening now? And make them feel uncomfortable, and then rescue them again. Oh, he's only joking. No, he's not. You know, so you leave people. I like having people go, you know, it's about playing with emotions and having fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah. No.
You know,
totally.
I don't think I'm better or worse than any human being or any being on this planet. It's about what fun I can have, because I can. And if you take it too seriously, then, you know, if the shoe fits, that's tough.
If you have feedback to say that something isn't working, and you feel strongly that it is it kind of collaborative in that sense? That it has influences from elsewhere.
Yeah, I think what happens is, generally when something doesn't work, like my agent Tim is a good friend of mine as well. You know, he never, you know, you can absolutely smash it and he goes, it's all right. And he'll tell me things, and you know, I might disagree with it, but then I might go, actually, I do agree with it, and then it might go. But what might happen, you know, give it a year or 6 months or whatever time span, something happens, you go, that's how that's going to work. But it comes back in a completely different guise, but it's still the same scenario, or it might be there's still the same science behind the actual joke that was original, but instead of it being about gorillas, it's now about petrol stations. Do you see what I'm saying? But it's still the same science behind that.
Yeah. If it wasn't your bit, you were doing somebody else's bit, would that be?
Oh no! If ever I get an inkling that I'm doing something similar to anyone else has gone, it's got to be. It has to be.
It has to be you.
It has to be pure.
Or if somebody suggests something to you and you feel like that it's not really your
something.
bit.
Yeah, but you know, well, there is that. I don't mind a suggestion, but sometimes you've got to be wary of that, because people will suggest things, and not generally comics are fine. There's a safety with comics, but. You know, friends or people in the world, the other side of the stage, no disrespect to those people, but will suggest things. If you're not careful, that's just an old joke, you know, and you've got to go, oh, that's hilarious, but then you say to somebody, that's an old gag. So you've got to be careful with that, and it's exactly what you say, it takes the purity out of it. But if it's someone like, you know, Tim or John, you know, my friend Johnny, who I really trust, they will suggest it because they know what I'm about. So they will be suggesting in the vein that I'm in. I think there's still a purity there because they know me and they know what I'm trying to do. So I think it's a good question, though. It's a really good question. Yeah, because it's true. I mean, once you hear something, you go, that's a great idea. But really, it's not your idea, you know.
Yeah.
Or someone can give you a gem. I've got one thing that I love doing, which was a gem from someone else. About bears dancing. It was just a moment about bears dancing, and it opened up a whole routine about dancing bears, and the fact that I would I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's a clip that where midway I'm doing this bear talking, which is kind of Tommy Cooper talking to Eddie Izzard, who's the guy who saved the dancing. I like dancing. You must go, you're free, but I like dancing. And I would take a phone call in the middle of that, to supposedly my wife, and I just would stop the show, go, yeah, no, I'm on stage now. Why are you calling me? And then carrying on like nothing had happened. So the gem of the idea was there, but the actual whole thing is mine, But it was just from that gem. It spurred, grew this whole thing, and just going on that, that was another thing I learned as well. Peddling back some of your other questions, is when also you realise that there are no rules. This is a thing I think I got caught up in as a youngster. The rules of racism and homophobic and sexist and you mustn't turn your back and all these rules of comedy and you apply yourself to these rules. And it was then one day I kind of went, what are these rules? Why can't I do that? If I want to do stuff about race, if I want to do stuff about men or women or homophobic, gay stuff, however it's seen, then I can do it. I don't want to do it personally. It's not what I want to do. Yeah. I don't want to do stuff about race. It's not really my bag, but I can if I want to do it. And whatever guy, because some people do stuff about these taboos. They're doing brilliantly, and they're very funny. And I think if you can do it well and it's funny and no one's getting hurt, then fair play. And if even anyone is getting hurt, to me personally, we, the audience, will hang them, won't we? We'll be the ones going, I don't really like what you're talking about there. I really find that quite distasteful and I don't like you. End of.
It's done.
That's a great moment when you realise these rules are absolute nonsense. You go, what rules? Why am I caught up in rules? I'm free to do what I want. I can do, if I die out there, I die, don't I?
It's on your back. Thank you so much.
Mate, that is the quickest 20 minutes. Any questions? You ask me none. I just don't stop. Thanks for having me.
That's lovely.
Really, thank you, love. It's really nice, thanks.
That's great.